What's going on, everybody? All right. So we're doing cold calling live today. I'll explain exactly what that means. If you've been here before, let us know in the chat if you have been on a cold calling live through Cognizant. If this is your first time, let us know. But also as well, the most important thing is we always like to see where is everyone tuning in from. Let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. We always like to see that. And we're really excited today to dive into this cold calling live across the board. And what this is going to be is if you right now have, come on and do some cold calling live with us, you can come on through the video and you can hop on. If not, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A because we're going to answer your cold calling questions here for the next, time that we have here. So before we go into that, first and foremost, let's introduce the people we have here. Zac and Jack, if you want to introduce yourself, Jack, you can go first. Then we'll go Zac, and then we'll dive into it.
Hello, my name's Jack David Frimston. I'm one of the directors of a company called We Have a Meeting and a sales consultancy. We help companies book meetings in the diary, and we help companies and people get better at sales. As simple as that.
Wow. How do I follow that?
I don't know.
I'm the co-director of both those businesses that Jack talked about. And you're like, what's the difference between these two guys? He's the comic, I'm the classic.
Wow. Jack,
Wow.
Are you gonna what with that one? You just gonna let him ride on that one?
I really respect him at the minute. I've got a lot of
respect.
love for him. We feel close. It's
Closer
good.
than ever.
Closer than ever. I'm not sure what's happening, but there's a lot of bonding going on. We're really close.
Bonding.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So as we said, if you all have cold calling questions, you're here. Put them in the Q&A. If you want to come on the video, you could come on as well and do a live mock cold call with us. This is an opportunity to do that. But as we figure out who wants to come in the Q&A or whatever that may be, let's go around the horn real quick and talk about best practices. So you all are working with a ton of clients across the board. And I know a lot of people in here. You can let us know your role, probably SDRs, AEs, et cetera, that you want to dive into. So let's start with Zac. What's your number one cold calling tip right now for people so that they can start learning and get some advantages here?
Ooh, I think one that can be actioned and you can think about on your own is, does it pass the pub test? It's a mantra that we run around in the business a lot.
You said pub?
The pub or bar or
okay,
club.
I would say some people in the States don't know what a pub is. You got to let them know.
What's the equivalent in the States?
It's a bar. Like
a Hooters.
Yeah. No, not a Hooters. Not that.
So what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that have got very, very, very technical sounding pitches. And when you're out there speaking to them for the very first time, you've got that 30-second elevator pitch. If it's something that wouldn't pass a test in a pub or a bar without someone going, what the hell is this guy talking about? You shouldn't be saying it. Simplicity is the key to brilliance. That's what Bruce Lee said. And I like that guy.
He was in our year at school, wasn't he?
He was in our year at school, exactly. He just never stopped kicking me.
No.
Jack, what would your top tip be?
I'll give you something if you want it. I always like to think about the psychology. I'm a bit more of like the psychology kind of guy, so I like to think of the psychology behind it.
Yep.
And one of the big things I think when it comes to like the psychology is like there's always like a lot of resistance or maybe like the chimp brain coming into play. So I think about how do you disarm the chimp? So when you start a cold call and somebody's maybe defensive, then not as involved as you'd hope for them to be. The three keys to disarming the chimp is humor, honesty, and allowing the other person to say no. So allowing them that space where it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel pushy. Whatever you think of 99.9% of salespeople, do the complete opposite. That's probably my biggest tip. Is that good advice? Zac laughed as if it was bad advice then.
No, it's good. I think your delivery is interesting.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The way you speak.
So actually, what Zac just said, I think, is the most important thing. I don't know if anyone else here.
Hey, Morgan, I think what I said is the most important thing.
I mean, hey, you got to stand by your tips. But what I would say is what you just mentioned is like voice and tone. I think that actually is the most important tip, like really practicing how you can disarm people and not sound like hostile. I think that when you handle objections, it's very easy to sound aggressive. If you're like super upset about something, you're like, oh, well, that's not right. And then the person can feel that. So I would say everyone's like practice your inflections and your tones. I'm not saying go get like auto tune and sound like T-Pain or something, but what you really want to do is like figure out how do you actually use your tones appropriately. Like, how do you make sure you do the upward inflections, downward, all these different things are important because you want to be able to use your voice to pique curiosity, slow things down, settle their state. Like, you'd have to be a very like calm and person to like maneuver these conversations. So my number one tip is practice your tone and practice what you're doing consistently, because that's what's ultimately going to help you win. So tone and voice, I think, are absolutely critical because you can put people at ease if you're able to pace appropriately.
100%.
I think the way you said it, Morgan, was better than the way Zac said it. So good. Yeah, really nice.
Just fluid pace across the board. So those are our tips, y'all. I know we got a lot of people here. If it's people are just coming in, what we're doing here today. So typically with these cold calling lives, we'll have people come on live and do a mock cold call with the people that are here. That's our whole goal. That's our premise. However, at the end of the day, if you have a question on cold calling, you're like, I don't really know what's going on right now, I need help, throw it in the Q&A or the chat, and then we're willing to answer that question across the board, right? And so we want to be able to do that. Now, as people figure out, okay, what their questions are going to be, or they want to come on live, we had last time that we talked together, there was a lot of questions around objection handling and things of that nature. There's this objection I keep seeing over and over again that people are really struggling with, that I think other people in here might struggle with too, which is you call somebody and they say, hey, like, how did you get my number? Or is this a cold call? So I want to toss this to you, Jack, to answer this. Really two objections here. If someone says, hey, is this a cold call? Or, hey, like, how did you get my number? How do you respond? And before you respond, I want to throw it out to the audience. Like, put a 1 in the chat if you struggle with either of those objections when it comes to you call someone and they're like, how did you get my number? And then the second thing is this a cold call? Put a 1 in the chat if you are facing that right now. And then across the board, we can definitely get into it, right? So blame it on marking. All right, let's go talk to Jack. What is your take on this one?
Cool. So the cold call one is really interesting. If anybody follows us, there is. I always think if you're getting an objection a lot of the time, then you've got to bring the objection to the front. So if every time you call someone, you say, hello, my name's Jack, I'm calling from We Have a Meeting, and people are going, is this a cold call? Is this a cold call? Is this a cold call? Get there first. And one of the openers we use is, I'll be honest, it is a cold call. It is a sales call. And just like disarming, if people are second guessing, like I said with the chimp, if people are second guessing whether it's a cold call or not, get there first. Just because it is a cold call doesn't mean it's going to make someone slam their head through a window. There's nothing bad with cold calling, like disarm people, make them feel at ease. So I always think that's one of the ways that you can disarm that. The alternative to that is if they go, it is a cold call, is picking up like level 3 listening, picking up on the way they're saying it, and just maybe a simple label. Oh, it sounds like you get a lot of these all the time. I'll be honest, it is a cold call. It sounds like you get a lot of these all the time. It sounds like you get bombarded with cold calls. It sounds like you get your phone blown up every single day. And then you can go down that path of trying to disarm them. Where did you get my number? It is another really, really interesting one. How can you disarm that with humor? One of the things me and Zac say is, can I be really honest with you? Yeah, I downloaded a piece of data that had the top 100 CEOs in the London area. You're probably not going to want to know where you are on that list. And you're trying to get a little bit of a laugh in there. I find it so baffling that in this day and age, so many people are like, where did you get my number? It's like, it's so easy. Like, people in the B2B space must know that companies like Cognizant exist. It's very easy to get people's data. I always think, is that really an objection, or is that just a knee-jerk reaction to what's going on? It's a great question. Can I run through in 30 seconds while I've got you? 9 times out of 10, people go, yeah, go on then. Zac, anything to add on that?
I think you're right what you said at the top. We weren't getting on, but I like you a lot more at the minute. And I don't know if that's what's going on. But when I heard you say that then, I agreed with everything. And I don't normally. The thing that Jack said that was interesting on the different levels of listening, if you picked up on someone sounding like, oh, where did you get my number from? you should be able to pick up on that and go, "Ooh, sounds like you're getting a lot of these." Sometimes it's not what someone outright says; it's picking up on the way they say it and why would they say it in that way. If it's like, "Oh, where did you get my number?" I might go, "Ah, you mad or impressed?" Like there's different approaches based on how someone delivers something.
Yeah, I think both of those are right, and you all can let me know in the chat if that was helpful for those who are struggling with this. I think both of those are correct. I think calling out the cold call, getting proactively in front of it is always going to be key across the board. Now, I actually want to call something out in the chat. Steve, you put this, and I'm actually just curious on y'all's perspective because I used to run this test with emails. Is instead of saying 30 minutes, I would say like, do you have 24 minutes of chat? Just as a test to see if people would just agree because it's different, it's a pattern of whatever. So when someone says like 19 seconds, Steve, you can let us know if this works for you. I'm overall curious here. But Jack and Zach, do you do something like this if someone's like, hey, like I'm not ready for cold call? It's like, oh yeah, like give me 19 seconds so I can explain. Do you find that because it's such a irregular number that it actually leads to people being more open? Or does it frustrate people because they know that you're trying to play maybe some type of game on them? I'm overall curious. Steve, we'll love your feedback too. But I'm going to throw it to both of you.
Do you want to take it? I've got a verdict, but
go on. Give us your verdict, mate.
Well, we recently had Chris Voss on the podcast. Little clang in there, but he said that if you're ever going to, I mean, from experience, I typically go for. I know 27 seconds was a big thing. He says if you're going to do it, like you should go for an odd number. It makes people like it doesn't feel as round, so it makes people feel more relaxed, I guess, in a sense. The only other thing of like, if you ask for 19 seconds, make sure you get it done in 15 seconds. Like leave some time at the end. Don't be going over. So if you're saying 19, that's fine. But then if you go into, he got it from Chris. There we go.
Okay, cool.
But if you go into a 1 minute monologue, that's going to upset people. That's going to frustrate people. Zach?
No, I agree with that. I agree. Just be respectful of people's time when you've got that mini contract. And I think the bit that people sometimes mess up with the 30 seconds when we coach people, sometimes they say, even though I got the time, they heard me out. My next few questions felt like I was on borrowed time. So no matter what you say, it's always worth when the dialogue starts, being comfortable saying, well, look, I've had my 19 seconds, I've had my 27, I've had my 30. Do you mind if we talk for maybe 1 or 2 more minutes? So you're not suddenly being disrespectful of the time. Because suddenly someone goes, oh, I'm in a sales call, I'll just give you 7. And actually, we've not really got anywhere. You just interrogated me. See you later. Just make sure you keep that same respect throughout.
Yeah, I think ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, Steve said it works. I think it's just to test it. Like, I think it's always to be mindful because so many people use like the 27 seconds. It becomes the thing. Just like everyone listened to Chris Voss and then they said, would you be opposed to hearing me out? Right? It's just the key here is use the psychology of how they got to the conclusion, not the actual tactic itself, because it could get overused. So understand why that works and then do something different. And Steve, that's why I asked you like that 19 seconds. I actually have not heard that before. So that probably works really well for you because not a lot of people probably do it, right? But 27 seconds over time, a lot of people might have heard that, and then now they're conditioned to be annoyed, right? Over time. But yeah, shout out to Chris Voss. If y'all want something great, I get nothing from this at all. Go check out the masterclass for Chris Voss. I think it's one of the best online content pieces I've seen. He actually does. I don't know if have y'all seen his masterclass? Like his master.
I don't think so.
He literally tells the person, hey, I'm gonna do this on you, and he still successfully disarms them. I'm like, this dude is crazy. So yeah, if you want to watch it in real time, like it's probably one of the best pieces of content I've seen. But we have a lot of questions that have come through, so let's start diving into them. And I want to start with this question. Yeah, okay, we're still gonna hang on objections here. Donovan's question: how would you overcome an objection? I'm just about to go into a meeting. Call me back in an hour.
Well, let's link what Steve said. So let's say I'm going to call someone back in an hour. Now, happy is for a lot of salespeople would be, I'm going to call this person back. They're going to take my call. They're going to be interested. We're going to book. The danger there is I'm going to call back. They're either not going to answer, or I'm going to call back, tell them the purpose of the call, and they're not going to be interested. So let's just alleviate all that up front and say, well, I'll definitely call you back in an hour. So rule 1 with objects, always welcome it. Yeah, definitely, I can call you back in an hour. Is there any way I could just quickly summarize in 19 seconds why I've chosen to call you? If it's irrelevant, I won't bother wasting your time. And you sum up why you've done it in the first place, the problems you solve, whatever that little intro elevator pitch is that you've got. As soon as they say yes or no, or they relate to something, then it's a case of, well, look, if you've got 2 minutes now, we can talk, or I can call you back in an hour. So you're still being respectful of that time. Because again, what can happen, you can run the clock and they'll start saying, well, I really have to go into that meeting. But if you sum it up there and then, they've got the option to not call back. You're not going to waste your time and have happy ears, or you've got someone in the pipeline to call back in an hour's time. Jack, anything you'd add to that? Because you look quite confused. I don't know if you ever seen anything.
Yeah, it's like, is he good?
No, I thought it was a really incredible, mate. I didn't know that you knew that, being completely honest. So I am quite impressed. I knew that a while ago. The only other thing I'd say is obviously, Morgan, like, you're probably someone that goes in a lot of meetings, people selling to you, you're selling. I imagine that your diary followed quite a chronological order. If I wanted to get a slot in your diary, I'm probably booking in at 3 o'clock, 3:30, or 4. I'm not booking in at 3:20, am I? That's going to screw the day up.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So just think and use a bit of common sense. If somebody says this at like 11 minutes past 3, could be that they're going into a meeting at 4:15, which means you probably got 4 minutes. So like, just think outside the box. But if it's like 5 minutes, maybe they're running late. Just listen and once again assess. Is it a knee-jerk reaction? Are they saying that because your tone is awful and they don't want to talk to you, or are they saying that because they're genuinely going into a meeting and they want you to call you back?
Yeah, I would also say as well, like, for everybody listening in too, that this is really important. I want to share this, what Dominic said. When someone answers the phone, you said 2 minutes. I would always say they have a minimum like 90 seconds, right? So like probably like a minute and a half. If someone picks up the phone, no one's picking up the phone like, yo, I got to get out of here, because they would have never picked it up in the first place. They just don't want to talk to you, so they're trying to get out of there. So that's why it's important to remember when this happens to be like, okay, I got 90 seconds. I can take my value in probably 25 to 30 seconds. If you go over 30, we've actually seen the data where people tune out completely. So you want to make sure that you can get this across, but you want to make sure at the end of the day, you can get that 90-second realm, right? They at least have that. So wanted to call that out too. And another thing too is interesting, Steve, I want to actually call out Steve's point. And I wonder if you all agree with this. I found this as when I was at SDR and training people, still today as I coach people. If you call somebody and they say, I don't have time, whatever, and you say, hey, I'll call you back next week, they won't remember you at all, which is like a good thing. Like, they won't remember that you even called them, because they're going to forget that call in 5 seconds. So also keep that in mind too. When you get like bulldozed on the phone, like you do your pitch or whatever, and they're like not interested, hang up. If you call them in 2 weeks with a different intro, they will not remember who you are. And I've scheduled a lot of meetings by just calling someone again when they said not interested at the beginning and they hung up. Just do a different intro the next time and you can still get that person. So I wanted to call that out because a lot of people will just like disregard that person. But like, no, they're not going to remember you. It's not that deep. Like, it sounds like bad because you're like, oh, they're not going to remember me. No, they're not going to remember you, which is a good thing. Follow back up.
Oh, yeah. You don't know what sort of day people have had as well. You're the least important thing. So someone getting mad at you in the moment, their cat's got run over on the way to work, they've rushed out the door and banged their head on the way out of the door. Like, you've cold called them in the interim of that happening. They've gone mad. You're not going to be memorable. So don't put that as a, no, I'm never going to speak to that person again. I know there's a guy who says, I'll be honest, this is a sales call. Last time I tried this, you told me to F off. I thought I'd try again. Tends to have people laughing and saying, no, go on, you can have your time. The persistence, if you're open with it, can sometimes get you places.
Yeah, I think that comes down to what we're about to actually put up here. Someone put it, okay, cool. This is actually in line. We're talking about tone. Like, you can only get away with what you just said if you have good tone. If you don't have a good tone, like, it will not work, right? So this question here is interesting. I find it interesting that you guys mentioned tone, as I believe it to be the most important aspect of a cold call. So what works best for you guys? A softer, friendly tone, or a professional, formal approach, and why? I'm very curious on your perspective, but yeah, go ahead.
there's a question mark over all of it, and the context is really, really key. So gatekeepers, maybe more professional, formal approach. Like if you're calling, so we play a little game internally, and it might be a nice little game that we could play if you fancy a little role play between me and Zac. But what we do is we like answer the phone, and all the way through a call, it's about like, how do I mirror them? So the quieter they go, maybe I'll be a little bit quieter. If they're more corporate, then I'll be a bit like sharper. If they're really like softly spoken, then so it's about how do you like, tone is so important. If somebody answers the phone and like, hello, Deirdre speaking, and you go, Deirdre, it's a sales call. You're probably gonna like blow her against the glass. Do you know what I mean? As if Deirdre goes, hello, Deirdre speaking, and you go, Deirdre, I'll be very honest, it's a sales call. Or you get someone, Mark speaking, Mark, I'll be very honest, it's a sales. Like, so you're always thinking about how do I mirror that person in the moment. It's a skill that takes a lot of time and practice, but there is no like right tone. It's like, it's about what's right now.
Oh, goodness me.
I didn't know you would land like that. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Can you
I know I look like I've got something wrong with me, but there's something happening up there.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Hey, I like that one. Zac, anything you want to add to that?
No, I'd agree. That is probably a skill that you can practice that's going to keep your job interesting as well. If you're an SDR making cold calls, how do I quickly, in that first 3 seconds of someone saying, hi, it's Morgan. Like, how do I quickly become that person as fast as possible? The thing to remember is people buy from people is shorter than what it needs to be. It's people buy from people like them. So you must become like them on the call. You are a mirror for the person you're speaking to. So how quickly can I sound like the CEO, sound like the CMO, sound friendly, sound sharp, sound whatever they are, you then become. Yeah. Morgan, what about you, mate? We want to know what you've got to say.
So I'm aligned. Like I believe the mirroring is absolutely important, and you have to, and it's all about pacing, right? It's understanding people's pace and how they want to go. It's not only about the tone, but it's also the speed of pace of how you talk. So certain people, if they have to answer the phone, like I'm talking pretty fast right now, and they're like, can talk fast, I can actually talk faster than what I am right now. Or some people, I call them, and I have to slow down a little bit so they don't feel like they're getting bombarded with like just insane crackhead energy. Like, wait, whoa! Like, I'm just letting you know, like if you come in too hot, people are gonna be like, this person's crazy. Right? But if you're like too slow, like if you're calling someone in New York and you're like, hey, my name's Morgan, they're going to be like, see ya. Right? And so you have to understand who you're talking to and then understanding the pace and also the tone itself. So I always mirror the person across the board, but typically just based on how I talk, my energy goes up as we go through the call though. So I don't come in super hot and be like, hey, it's Morgan. Like, that's like, well, that's just too much energy. But I'll be like, hey, concrete. I'll be pretty like static in the beginning. And then as we get in the conversation, I will get more excitement because I believe that the transfer of enthusiasm is critical in sales because people need to know that you're actually excited about what you're talking about. Because if you're bored, then they will be like, well, if this person's bored talking about their product, I'm probably not going to be excited getting on this call. So these are like the little things you have to pay attention to. That's my feedback.
Beautiful.
Really good, actually.
And I actually want to shift to... Go ahead.
How tall are you, Morgan?
What?
I've just never met you in person, so I just want to know, because like I want to know what the height order is. If this is in height order, I don't know.
I'm 6'1".
6'1"?
Yeah.
Wow, this is in height order. As in Jack to me.
I'm 6 foot. You're 6'1", and he's 6'1.5".
Jack's 5'5".
That's not true. See you, Morgan.
No, I clicked the wrong button. No, yeah, you guys made fun of my height, so then I had to leave. But
no. You're just over average height for a man, so obviously, Jack.
I know. I make the cut. I actually want to. This is actually. I know we see a lot of gatekeeper questions. We'll get to that. But I want to answer, this is actually interesting to me. How do I manage my tone after being in the military where I've developed a sort of an aggressive tone.
Mm-hmm.
How would you give advice on that?
The issue is like you're looking to develop the adaptability of the skill. A good salesperson is a chameleon. They should become the person they're dealing with. I know we always try and like, how do we simplify things? So we would assume every CEO sounds the same as all the other CEOs. The reality is you're going to meet people who are a bit more eccentric, people who are a bit more reserved, people who are more of an analyst, people who are more big sky thinkers. Really, the skill is not, how do I have this tone that's a one size fits all thing and I'm struggling to go from military to this like magical silver bullet tone. The skill is, how do I speak to as many people as I can and be able to adapt to whatever they're giving me? Even to your point, Morgan, around the pacing of someone who's more of an analyst is going to be much slower, much more thought out. Give us an Elon Musk on a podcast. When he gets asked a question, he takes about 5 minutes to even say anything. He's sat there going like, Now, if you're not adaptable, that would drive you mad. If you're a salesperson, you'd be trying to interrupt him. So it's probably less so about how do you create this like one size fits all tone, more how do you have the adaptability to try and become what the prospect is comfortable with.
The person, Grant, the person that you are with your military friend versus the person you are if you go to church, or the person you are with your family, I'm sure you're different anyway in different scenarios. So think about like that hat that you have to wear in different situations, and think about how you can bring that to the party.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think, Morgan?
I like Bill's advice here that he's giving. I think overall it's the tone that you may believe that sounds aggressive may not be. I think that you could lean on who you are, which is that. So it's just leaning in and being like, this is who I am. But I think also as well, practicing like, okay, maybe you can go listen to other people. If you have other reps, like go listen to how they're maybe have a different tone. And I would just like practice that tone on how they do about it as well. But I would like, when we say mirror, this doesn't mean like completely, like this isn't like I forgot the like master detective in disguise. Like you're not like changing outfits every single time. It's just adjusting to the volume of where it's at. But I would stick to the tone you have. It's just like start listening to other calls and figure out how can you adjust accordingly. That would be like my advice on that too. Cool. Okay, so we have some upvotes coming in for a couple things here. I want to throw this in the chat real quick. Let us know, for everybody listening in, if this has been helpful so far. Let us know in the chat if this has been helpful. Again, we're going through some questions. If you want to come live and do a mock live cold call with us, that option is still available. If not, there's a lot of questions here, so we're gonna go through as many as we can. But let us know if it's helpful in the chat across the board, and we can go about it. Okay, so we have a couple of upvotes here, and this one here is the highest right now. How to overcome, we will contact you if we are interested.
There's so much you could say on this. You've got to look upstream, okay? So it's not. I struggle with these because I think people search for a silver bullet. How do I overcome this? Well, let's have a look at the blueprint of everything that's come before it. There's probably like a bit of a pitch slap, maybe, Jonathan, like talking about yourself, or like, but really there's that resistance has come up. Like they're not interested anymore, and they feel like actually this is probably like a cliche salesperson that's trying to sell to me. I always call things out. Like, so if we're trying to think of like a silver bullet, okay, there isn't one, but okay, Jonathan, can I be really honest with you? Yep. 100% of the time, every time that someone said we'll contact you if we're interested, I've never heard back with. So is that just a polite way of saying that at this point it's not relevant and you're genuinely not interested, or what kind of projects do you have on the future horizon that might make you say that you'll contact me in the future? Or like looping it back to a bit of a dig deeper question, trying to get them back onto like that problem. What are you trying to unpack? You're trying to find pain, you're trying to find relevancy, you're trying to find if there is a motivation to do something. Like no one has ever said that, and then you've gone, cool, I'll send you my pitch, and then it's like, yeah, 4 years later, I remember that cold call. It just doesn't happen. So look upstream, and if not, if anything, if your gut's saying it, call it out. Trust your gut always.
Yeah, objections are a funny one. The way to think about objections in terms of the mindset around them, and it's a bit of a brutal realization, the majority of objections are the salesperson's fault. So you've allowed that to happen is the way to look at everything. An email request or a call me back is normally you pitch someone. So I've actually pitched someone too hard. The way our brains work, we're deleting and distorting information down, usually to its most negative, irrelevant form. So we're not hearing someone say we're an award-winning data provider to the B2B space. We're hearing data, already got it, not that interested. I'll get back in touch if I'm interested. That's what's happening. So the outcome's going to be, I'll get in touch if I'm interested, email me, call me back. So it's a case of being able to, let's say it's on a cold call. So yeah, I'll get back in touch with you if you're interested. Yeah, makes sense. Just before I let you go, do you mind if I ask you one last question? So I'm always getting permission to ask that last question, and then using that to loop back to a problem, or someone's putting here, what are you interested in? I might be maybe slightly less abrasive than that. I might say something like, you said you'd get back in touch with us if you were interested. What kind of things might come up in the future that would be a reason for you to get back in touch with me? But always that, can I ask one last question, accepting the objection first, will just take all the tension out of what you ask next.
So something I want to call out here. Are y'all familiar with like the humble disclaimer? Have you heard this before?
No.
Okay. So
no, sorry.
No, it's good.
I'm going to be humble. No, I'm going to be humble. I'm going to let you tell me.
This guy. So it's from a book called Question-Based Selling. If y'all haven't read it, you should. One of the things it talks about is when you are going to ask a question that could cause friction or could be seen as aggressive, you have a humble disclaimer in front of it so it softens the question. So an example of that would be what you just talked about, Jack, is if someone says, hey, yeah, like we'll contact you if you're interested. So you basically say, hey, look, like I know this is going to sound very crazy. However, when I hear people tell me that they're going to contact me if they're interested, typically I never hear back from them. And I don't want to be an annoying sales rep and follow up with you if this isn't interesting at all. So just want to clarify real quick, like what would make it easier for us to meet today, or what information can I provide to you right now so that we can actually move forward for a meeting? You can decide what that end note is. But I would encourage you all, if you have not used the humble disclaimer in your cold calls, just before you ask a question, call it out that, hey, X thing is about to happen. Ask the question and it will actually soften the question that you ask. And I've actually found that to be extremely helpful and beneficial when you get things like, we'll contact you if you're interested, or, hey, I'll reach back out in 3 months. Like these things are most likely not going to happen. So I just call it out to make sure that we're just not wasting time, because I'm going to be annoying anyways. Like I'm going to follow up with you and I'm going to blow you up. So let's just go ahead and call it out. Let's keep it super simple. If you're not interested, that's fine. But let's do ourselves both a favor and make sure that we can do that. But yeah, I'll repeat it one more time. So basically, the humble disclaimer is you calling out the scenario. So it could be something like, hey, look, I know this is going to sound crazy, or hey, this is going to be an outrageous question. And the reason psychologically, the reason you're doing that is you're planting the seed and they can now brace themselves. The reason that people react in a weird way to like certain things that we say is because they're not prepared for it. And so it's something that they, again, didn't see coming. But if I tell you, hey, what I'm about to tell you is going to be absolutely insane, right? Or I know this is going to be pretty crazy, or I know this is a bold ask. You've now prepared them for whatever you're going to say. And you could say pretty much whatever. So to go back to what I said, so I'll say, hey, I know what I'm about to say is maybe a little crazy. However, when people tell me that they're not interested, or when people tell me that they'll reach back if they're interested, typically that means that they're not interested and I don't hear back. So I don't want to become an annoying sales rep with my follow-up. So I think the next best step here would probably either to be, one, let's see the visual of the product so you could say yes or no. Or if there's a better time to reach out, let me know as well. But I'm looking to completely get them to say either no or yes. I don't want, I'll reach back if I'm interested, because the likelihood of that happening is like 1%. Just so you know. So, Steven, let me know if that was helpful. And then the book is called Question-Based Selling. It's a really good read.
Well, while we're waiting for Stephen to say whether that was helpful or not, I thought that was helpful, Morgan. So
No, thank you. At least Jack.
me
At least
too.
show me Jack.
Me too.
No, Stephen Thompson. There we go. Hey, he's good. We're good.
Good.
But I'm like that.
Stephen
like,
Orr.
Stop with Stephen Orr. Great last name. But I encourage y'all, like, if you use that, like, it's gonna help you out a lot because it doesn't make you feel like, oh, I'm being too aggressive or I don't know. It's like I've used it so many times. I really haven't had anyone like not give me a good answer, and I haven't had anyone be like offended because I told them, hey, this is about to be crazy.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I'm gonna say, right? And so it saves you almost every single time.
Mm.
Okay, so let's talk about our favorite thing that we always get asked this. Top tips to get past the gatekeeper.
I
What do
think
y'all
did I read a post from yours the other day, Morgan, saying you've got to become friends with them, or have I made that up?
Nope, that wasn't. Nope, I said you should be allies with them. Yes, I did say that.
Okay, because I probably disagree, but there's probably there's
disagree.
always,
Let's go.
No, there's always context in between. It's like I've been in situations before, and I've done training with a lot of companies where they can become great allies with them, and then they never nothing moves. And I feel like everybody that I know that goes down the path of like becoming friends with gatekeepers, you could definitely like cite a few situations where it's worked and it's gone in your favor. But as I like to quote a lot, one swallow doesn't make a summer.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I go. And obviously like I'm coming from a biased fact point. So like all my beliefs and facts are biased for what I find works for me anyway. I find like the key is not to be rude, not to be disingenuous, but to play the game. It's I always think so many people try and get past gatekeepers as well, whereas actually there's probably smarter ways to go about it. So let me give you like a tip. So you call something up and it says press 1 for reception, 2 for IT, and 3 for finance. I'd say 90% of salespeople would go 1 to reception. I'm trying to get hold of CEO. Can you help me? Whereas I like to think, right, okay, what's the weird thing that we can do here? Let's press 3 for finance. And when you answer more, we're going to go, oh, that doesn't sound like Sally. You go, what? I go, oh, sorry.
My bad.
I thought I'd called Sally at blah 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 company name, but I've obviously called a different company. No. You've called the right thing. Oh, I put the wrong extension number in. Yeah, her extension number is 417. You need to call you've called 437. Ah, right. Okay, I see what happened. I guess you couldn't transfer me through, could you? Yeah. Who's calling? I'll tell her it's Jack. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like I always think, can you think outside the box? But I'd be keen, and I don't mean, I know I'm a sarcastic Brit 90% of the time, but I'd be keen to hear from when you say about making allies. What does that look like for you then, Morgan?
Yeah. So when I think of that, I think that's a good point. I'm not saying go be friends with them and then not like be directive. I think a lot of people will just be like buddy, and they have fireside chats and they go nowhere. My whole thing is to be directive with being an ally. So the way I approach it, well, actually, before I answer this is actually important because someone was like, well, I disagree. And then they basically said something completely different than what I posted. So there's two different things here. When there's a gatekeeper, there's actually two types of gatekeepers, right? So one is the receptionist that doesn't have maybe contextual understanding what the executive's doing. And then there's the executive assistant, which are two different people. So in that, someone would took the post, they were like, well, this is what you should do. And I'm like, yeah, do that for an executive assistant, but that's not what I was talking about. So the thing is that like your executive assistant, yes, you actually, if you get those people, you should actually be pitching them. And it was an executive because they have the purview of what's going on in the business. But if you're calling a regular gatekeeper or receptionist or someone at the front desk, they're not as tapped in as the executive assistant. So because they're not as tapped in, my approach is different. So when the gatekeeper answers the phone, all I say is, can you help me? That's all I say. Because psychologically now they're going to move their mindset from defensive, which everyone's calling them every day, asking them for the same thing. Now they're going to be like, yeah, I'm willing to help. Different mindset shift. I guarantee if you do this today, you call a gatekeeper and you say, can you help me? You'll notice a massive tone switch in how they answer. It'll be different than what you typically get. So when they say, yeah, sure, how can I help? That's where you can go in for the ask. You can be like, hey, yeah, looking to connect with Bobby, please. Can you please connect with Bobby? Super simple, right? And so that's like how you go about it. When I say allies, I'm creating an ally from the beginning of the moment. If I say I'm blah, blah, blah from blah, 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 no one cares. I don't know. Have y'all seen Charlie Brown? I don't know if the UK y'all watch Charlie Brown. You know what that is. Do y'all know
Charlie Brown? Charlie Brown. Like the cha-cha slide.
Not the cha-cha slide. Yo, shout out to the cha-cha slide. No, okay, so Charlie Brown is a cartoon. So basically, Snoopy,
yeah, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, you know how the adults are like wah, 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 wah. That's how you sound when you call a gatekeeper and you say, "I'm Morgan Ingram from whatever company you're at." Literally, you sound like wah, 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 wah. That's how you sound. And so that's why I'm like, let's not do that. Ask them, hey, can you help me? The gatekeeper will then shift mindsets and psychological. They'll say, yes, I can help. And then you tell them what you want. And because they agreed to helping, they're going to point you in the right direction. This is just a psychological shift. But again, it's a small shift, but it does work. That's my approach. That's what I mean by allies. You create an ally from the beginning. The ally's willing to help you, but you need to be directive. You can't just create an ally and then like be buddy and then don't ask for help because that doesn't make sense.
And then, okay, let's stick on that, Morgan. So you say, can you help me? Yeah. Can you put me through to Zac from We Have a Meeting? Yeah, cool. Is it a sales call? What do you say?
Okay, they ask a sales call. I'll be like, yeah, like I actually have emailed X executive about this thing. I actually been doing some research on it, and it seems like this could be a potential area to help. So yeah, I was just following up on that, and if you could please connect me, that'd be great.
Okay.
So intention, show research, right? That's the key. Because if you just say, yeah, just connect me, they're gonna be like, what? So I just show, yeah, no, I've been emailing. Here's a couple things we've been talking about. Let's go, right? And so then I can go from there.
Shout out to Charlie Brown as well. We'll put his Instagram handle in the comments.
Charlie, you don't want to sound like a wah wah. That's the last thing you want. All right, we got a couple questions here, and then we'll out here. Okay, so we just talked about this, right? When cold call opening, does it still matter to introduce your company and service product, or go straight into working with similar industries and the problems we solved?
We actually went to school with James Hart. It might not be the same.
You did?
We did.
Oh yeah, he had like a medical. I won't say what it was.
He was very strong for his age.
Quite cool. It was quite cool what he had. Anyway, I'm gonna say not necessarily. Although one of my first clients that I had in We Have a Meeting was Panasonic, and I did chop that around a bit and say that I was calling from Panasonic because it had some weight. The other thing that is sometimes useful is people can make assumptions, particularly so I've got a software client at the minute. When we were doing the initial intro, the script, they were thinking we were a consultant and said, no, I'm okay, we don't work with consultants. So just changing the script to, I'm calling from a software company that solves problems like A, B, and C, change the script entirely. So I think like if it's a name of something that's got some weight behind it, you can talk about the company. Like I'm not against that. Sure. But typically the go-to is what does the prospect care about? What's their favorite subject themselves? So how quickly can I get the topic of conversation onto problems that might be affecting them statistically in their world?
Yeah.
Jack, what would you think about that?
Yeah, I think I think situational. It's like if you are calling from Google and it will carry weight and you can use it. If you're using it to farm into accounts, Morgan, Jack calling from Google, you're already an existing customer of ours. I wanted to give you a call today to discuss X, Y, and Z. You might tell me that sounds ridiculous, whatever. But yeah, like I think cut all the crap. Like we don't even introduce our name. Like I don't say it's Jack. Like I just get straight in. I'll be honest, it's a sales call. Bit of a weird one today. We've never spoken before. Can I run through in 30 seconds? I'm trying to disarm you as quick as possible. Like we're thinking about like buyers in 2024. They get so much faff. How do I just say, listen, I get it. I understand. I'm going to be different. I'm not like all the other men out there. I'm better than all the rest.
You are a bit like them, aren't you? And shout out to Google as well. We'll put their website in the comments.
And if you're not familiar with him at all. Actually, so shout out to Bill. Bill's been on point. Everything I'm about to say, he's already said it. So this is actually
this guy wants to get on the show, Bill. I've seen him in there. Just Bill, put in the comments, please. Can I come on the show? We'll get you on next week's show, no problem.
We got to get Bill on here. So the thing with Bill is like this is also on point, because if you sell at Google, Salesforce, I mean, yeah, you can lead with that because people are going to be excited, and most people don't like that. In working with Salesforce, like that is their lead. Hey, I'm so-and-so from Salesforce, and people are like, oh, it's great. If you're from Google, like they're going to listen to you. So that is the rare scenario where I say, yeah, you should probably lead with your company because everyone knows who you are. But if not, nobody really cares about your name or your company if no one's heard of it before. So you want to lean with a unique intro or something completely different, right? Like industry results, etc. Right? So that's the case as well. Shout out to Will. Dang, Will, you can't find the chat? What's going on, Will Falkenberg over there?
He's one of my favorite guys, Will.
We all love him, don't we?
I love Will.
Hot dog.
I love Will. Forcing his child to do cold calls. I love it.
Should we? Does Will want to come on and do a role play with us?
He's the sort of guy who'd come on.
Will would 100% come on. I think if he can get, but also he couldn't find the chat. He might not be able to find the video Q&A. To be fair,
I like when he did an impression of you, Jack. Have you seen that video?
I think
he didn't impress it in that way that Americans do, the British accent.
Oh,
hello, me old mucker.
Would you like to hang up and watch 7 episodes of The In-Betweeners, my friend?
Yeah, that was it.
Shout out to Will. If we can get you in here, that'd be great. If not, we can get you on next time because that would be a blast. Shout out to Will. He's doing some great stuff. If y'all aren't following him, you absolutely should. We'll end with this. We'll end with this one because this is a really good one. Thoughts on cold calls before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m.
We were talking about this morning, weren't we, Zac?
We were talking about it.
This is very controversial.
I think, who are the people that you're calling? Like,
Yeah.
if you're going CEO, like, and people like, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results, it's insanity, right? So you're calling CEOs all day, 9 to 5, they're not picking up. Open your window, do 8 till 6. What happened? Oh my God, I might get more connections between 8 and up till 6.
Right.
Like, I know for a fact, and you're probably the same, Morgan. Me and Zac are in the office till 6, 90% of the days. We're here with and that's probably where we're catching up on emails from the day, or we're sorting reports out. You've probably got more time to discuss. If I don't know what your diary's like, but if it's back-to-back meetings all day, you're not getting a pickup. So, yeah, but also depends on your person. Like, I think don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
You want
Zac?
you
I mean,
want-
yeah. You were just
Sorry.
like, yeah. I was like, all
Sorry,
right,
yeah.
all right.
No.
Do you know?
It was so much heat. He couldn't even respond.
Nah,
He was
honestly,
just like,
he
"Dang,
served
dog."
up then what I like to call the hot lasagna conversation, and I was blowing that guy down. Yeah, I didn't want to eat the whole thing and burn my mouth. Yeah, I mean, look, for me, that's when you're going to get hold of me. I run a business. You're going to get hold of me at those times. I travel into work. I'm not going to be annoyed with you for doing it. When we ring into the States at that kind of VP executive level, we also do the same. We find out that starting the calling day from 8 a.m. their time, you tend to have really good connection rates between 8 and 9. You're always, I think, no matter what, going to get people who are annoyed, regardless of what time of day you ring them. But I've had a great conversation on the live cold calling show that we do the other week with a lady who was in traffic on the way to work, very high up, telling me how lucky I was to get hold of her. I'd never have got hold of her. I rang her during normal working hours. So there's benefit to it. Just be prepared for some people's 8 a.m. is still breakfast with children. So be prepared to navigate that.
So absolutely key here is, especially with videos, I actually recommend people to send them before work or after work. So this is kind of like a two-pronged answer. So if you're doing video prospecting, if you are in the chat, let us know. I actually would not send them during work. No one's going to watch it. So that's why I tell people do it before that or after. Calling, I actually see the same. Because especially if you're talking to an executive, I've actually gotten complimented this. Some people might think it's aggressive, but I did it as an SDR. I called it like 7:30, 7:45. Now maybe people are like, whoa, that's mad early, but it's actually not, because that's called same wavelength. The executive is probably already up doing things.
Yeah.
So if you're up calling them at 7:45 and you're concise and you're clear, they're going to respect that. Now, if you may call other roles, that may not be as applicable, but I've actually found that if it's an executive, they're already up early. They're already doing work. So now I can go into and say, okay, yeah, like here's what I'm about. Here's what's going on. That's something that I would take in consideration as well.
I like Will Falkenberg's "Let me explain what I call, and I'll give you something to chew on."
Oh, what? See, but I think he could get away with that though.
He's one of my favorite guys. He's got very curly hair as well. I think it's something
he's
about
got the same thing that wrong with him that we've got wrong with us.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Undiagnosed, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. He's got
it. He's definitely got it. But no, I love that. So that's my perspective on that. I encourage people to definitely test calling earlier, but I know, for example, in certain regions, I know that just wouldn't fly. So let me be very clear. I'm not like saying that it won't work for every single person, but it is something to test. Might as well see what can happen.
I remember 2 years ago when the business first started, I did a campaign for the States, and I called a bloke at 4 a.m. and he was I'd got my time zone. I got my time zones, and he went, "You've just woken me up." I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I guess." And I guess while I'm here, if you want to hang up, like, or should I run through now you're awake? I'm not lying. I booked the meeting. I don't know how.
No way.
Okay.
Swear down.
You booked the meeting and you called him at 4 a.m.? That's
Plot
impressive.
twist, they've got a mortgage together. They live together now.
So I'm not saying, but like I said,
crazy.
One swallow doesn't make a summer.
No, but it makes a good night.
It does make a good night.
That is crazy. So on that note, I don't think there's anything that could just top what you just said, Jack. We're gonna end there because I don't know anyone closing on a 4 a.m. call. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. I've really enjoyed this, Morgan. Have you? I know that you don't like to admit that you like us, but you've enjoyed it.
No, I'm with you. You don't like to admit it, Morgan, do you?
Oh my goodness. I've said behind the scenes that I thoroughly enjoy being with you.
Yeah, but that's the problem. You say it behind the scenes.
Why don't you say it behind our faces?
Yeah. Can you just announce to the public now that you like us?
So I will say here now, Zac and Jack, I appreciate you all as always. And I do love being with you guys. It's fun. It's always fun. It's good banter.
Politicians answer. You like being here.
Wait,
That's
oh my I just said
no.
I love being with you guys. I don't know what else you want from me. This is
and if you are following Morgan on LinkedIn, keep an eye out because Morgan's going to be dropping the top 10 haircuts SDRs need in 2024 to book more meetings. Coming your way.
The top 10 haircuts for the best conversion. The haircuts that convert. Listen, I think the question we've all been asking is, what have you been drinking throughout this? Is that a big bottle of kombucha?
It's a big bottle of kombucha, yeah.
Wow. Listen, man, I know my kombucha. I didn't know they do bottles that big of kombucha.
Yeah, they do. So I went to where was that? Yeah. They have like a Whole Foods.
Yeah.
You can get a massive bottle. So I just get these massive bottles. I don't recommend drinking them the entire day. This has already been halfway. Don't drink the whole entire thing in a day.
What flavor is it?
This is the Guva Goddess. Yo, this is fire.
Wow.
I'd love to cold call from your gut sometime, Morgan.
Yeah, me too. Sounds like there's a lot of friendly bacteria in there.
I don't drink it often, but I was like, all right, let me get involved. It was good. So I'm like, let me do what I gotta do. That's hilarious. But all right, y'all. We're out. If y'all found this helpful, fantastic. We love that. And then I do love you guys. I don't know what y'all want from me, but besides that, maybe I'll send you a gift.
Money.
Gift card. I'll send you a gift card. There you go.
No, I don't want to. I want you to come to the UK and shave my head for me.
Yeah, I'd like you to do that. Cover a bath with kombucha, and we can do a show from in the bath.
Yeah.
I got you. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all as always, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Cheers.